This guy, after throwing for 2,700 yards, 2,749 yards, 9 yards per attempt, 30 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. I'm expecting him to improve because even though he has a solid running game behind him, and it's going to be real nice to pay attention to this guy, Jake Fromm's going to have to put that team on his shoulders. He's going to have to show and prove against the great Alabama defense and Chuck Malzone down there at University of Florida. It's going to be an interesting situation. Jake Fromm, he is the guy who's at the number 3 slot for my Heisman hopefuls. We're going to update this weekly, and hopefully my guys stay on there. If not, I'll probably be wrong. It won't be the first time. Won't be this. Now, this is a guy who didn't play 99% of the season last year. He transferred from the University of Alabama. He's a 5th-year senior, and he allegedly had problems throwing the ball. See, the thing is, this quarterback is not a non-thrower. He was trained in the way of the new quarterback, checking down, and they really hinder you. See, my coach, Jimmy Fields, used to always say, when you have a good quarterback, it's easier to teach a quarterback to dial it back than to teach him to be aggressive. These young men have not been trained to be aggressive. And this is what Jalen Hurts' problem is. He's been trained to check down. And when you're trained to check down, you throw dink and dunk and walk it up the field. He's going to have to be aggressive. The reason I'm picking him to be at the top of this is because Lincoln Riley specializes in getting players open. When you watch the boy Baker Mayfield and the young man back-to-back, young man who was the number 1 pick in the draft, I cannot think of his name right now, Kyler Murray play, they were throwing balls to Hollywood Brown wide open. Basically, just a second. I'm sorry. When they specialize in getting people wide open, and when you specialize in getting people wide open, what happens is Jalen Hurts will have to throw the ball to wide open people that'll make him look better. You put himself in a position to dominate. They don't play defense and in the Big 12, and when you don't play defense, it puts you in a position to excel and get that Heisman Trophy. Big ups to Jalen Hurts, period, point blank. Now, the number 1 guy on my list. This is a guy who I don't even have a lot of faith in. But he plays for the national championship, and he plays for Dabo Swinney. They are always in contention for the national championship. This is a guy, Trevor Lawrence. He's 6'6". He got a rocket arm. I saw him flinch a lot. But when you have the talent and the coaching prowess of the Dabo Swinney and all the players around you, what you have is the formula for an undefeated season, being able to put up big-time numbers like David Tua did last year, and everything will be on your sophomore shoulders. If you continue to develop like I think Dabo Swinney does, he did it with Deshaun Watson, he did it with Taj Boyd before him, he did it with the kid who transferred, I can't think of his name right now, who transferred to the University of Missouri. He's done this on a regular basis. Therefore, when you do that, you will put yourself in a position to excel. So I do believe just by default, Trevor Lawrence makes himself the number one prospect for the Heisman Trophy. Being on the team that's going to contend for the national championship, everything being put on your shoulders, and you have a solid coaching staff with big-time mega talent around you, you will put yourself in a position to excel. And I do perceive this dude, Trevor Lawrence, as one of the best players and will be rated as one of the best players in college football this year, and will be in New York at the Heisman ceremony and potentially winning it all. Big ups to him. And since I'm talking college football, I'm only gonna do the top 10, man, because top 25 is way too much. Most of those teams in the top 25 ain't gonna get anywhere because this thing is slighted. This is something I really think they need to work on, and either that or do it East and West, and then get 4 teams from the East, 4 teams from the West. Otherwise, this will continue to be a disappointment. Use the bowls. Everybody's worried about the money, unless you talk about paying these young men and women. Then the money don't mean anything, But if you really want to maximize your dollars NCAA, this is what you do. You make a West NCAA. You make an Eastern part of NCAA. You get 4 teams in each portion of the country, and you move those teams into the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, the Orange Bowl, and make one of the final bowl the championship game. That way, you'll get all the bowls being able to maximize their money. You'll put people in a position that they'll be engaged, and then you'll be able to continue to pimp us for our dollars and our attention. Now, the team that a lot of people rated a lot higher than this because they finished strong was University of Florida. They have 2 consecutive defeats at the end of last year. They got 2 consecutive years of losing to the Dogs. This might be a 3rd year. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Felipe Franks as the quarterback, but he should get better after going 10-3 last season. I'm expecting a similar season. A lot of people are expecting a lot more. This game against the U will be the litmus test, so to speak. I have a lot of faith in the new coach at the U. They got this new kid Williams at the quarterback. It's going to be interesting. At number 10, I got the University of Florida. Now, even though I do like Herman as the coach at the University of Texas, excellent football coach, offensive coordinator for the national championship Ohio State Buckeyes. Then he went down to Houston to turn that program alive, woke that program up after years of being just basically dormant. He woke them up, which promoted him to get the opportunity to use Charlie Strong players. Let's not fool ourselves. A lot of these guys, 80% of this team is Charlie Strong's team. The guys that will be making strides are Charlie Strong's guys. Coach Herman is an excellent offensive player. Sam Ehlinger, he looked good last season, but after 1 year up under Coach Herman, it should look better. The University of Texas had a big time upset last year. I'm expecting big things from Texas. They're number 9 on my personal list. Big ups to the University of Texas. We're gonna see that. Now, Texas A&M is an enigma. They are new to the SEC. They have a new coach. They have a new system. They look very impressive last year, but they have a brutal schedule. They on the road to Clemson. They on the road to Georgia. They on the road to LSU. And Bama comes to College Station. That is a hell of a task. That's a hell of a mountain to climb for Coach Jimbo Fisher. This dude is a hell of a coach. He used to coach the Florida State Seminoles, coached them to a national championship, and then another consecutive visit to the playoffs. It's going to be hard to get Texas A&M through this schedule, especially when you're playing national champion Clemson at Death Valley, LSU, and Louisiana, and then Bama coming to you. You got to go to Georgia. It's going to be interesting, but I also like them at number 8. Big ups to the Texas A&M Aggies. Now, with former LSU is a team that the state of Louisiana consistently puts out big time talent in the national, and on the national stage. LSU putting pros out there like Marcus Spears, Patrick Peterson, Odell Beckham Jr., and others. They probably have a big time player at every position in the National Football League, and not just a player, a star. So they're chock full of talent. They got a solid coach, and they just picked up the offensive coordinator of the Saints, Joe Brady. This will help them in their weakest position, which is offense. And when your weakest position is at offense, you should be able to excel when you get a pro style coach down there and being able to coach up these guys who are less than. When you have players, you have inferior coaching in college, you will not excel. It's impossible for you to excel with inferior coaching. I'm sorry, it's just not going to work. And when you don't have the proper coaching, and then you have major league talent, you consistently lose to Alabama. This could potentially be the year that they rise above the foolishness of Alabama, but we shall see. I got them at number 7 in the nation. Big ups to LSU. I've already referenced Jalen Hurts in regards to the Heisman Trophy. The only way that he'll be eligible for the Heisman Trophy is if he listens to Lincoln Riley and they put up big time numbers. I'm expecting that to happen. There is very little defense played in the Big 12. When you're playing the conference with very little defense, you put yourself in a position to excel. Because it's the Big 12 and the Big 12 has a name, you're looking at a situation to whereas you have an opportunity. When you all you need is an opportunity in college football. The Oklahoma Sooners they always have big time talent out there, Midwestern portion of the country. They rob Texas blind because Texas is a state, but football is not a game, it's a religion. And Oklahoma ain't shabby with the talent as well. So we are going to look for big things for Lincoln Riley and the Oklahoma Sooners at number 6. Ironically, number 5, I have it number 5 in the nation with the dude who I had 5th in the Heisman race, Shea Patterson, the Michigan Wolverines. It is time for Jim Harbaugh to show and prove. One of his greatest nemesis is gone from Ohio State. They have a rookie coach. This is a perfect opportunity for him to take advantage of that. And hopefully he can look. They lost a lot of defenders. But Shea Patterson, Donovan Peoples, Nico Collins, and other receivers on the team should step up. They still have Calvin Hill and defensive coordinator Don Brown. It's going to be interesting over there at Michigan. Even though I have issues with the University of Michigan after watching that 5-5 documentary, it kind of bothers me somewhat. But I'm still going to support them. I like the whole situation there. I like to get down. I like Jim Harbaugh, even though most people in the national media, they don't like him. Big up to him. Now we get to the nitty gritty with Jake Fromm and the University of Georgia. It's no need to even talk about the talent at the University of Georgia. University of Georgia, like the University of Alabama and Clemson, big ups to them for not using those scouting services. For those who don't know, those scouting services, instead of going to see a kid or looking at tons and tons of videotape of young men, what they do is use these scouting services. And again, we back to the analytics, we back to the nerds, we back to the computers. University of Georgia get actual people to go watch actual football players. They excel. It looks good. Jake Fromm, I'm expecting him to be a Heisman hopeful. The University of Georgia has consistently been good for the last 10 years, either with Kirby Smart or Mike Rick. They've been good. Let's see if they can get over the hump this year. They're number 3 on my list. Big ups to the University of Georgia. Now, this is a name that a lot of people will wonder, why isn't he on your Heisman list? Because I don't think he's going to put up big time numbers. Nick Saban will go back to the Nick Saban formula. You run to win, you throw the score. You run to win, you throw the score. That's the way you win in all of football, and especially in college football. When you have as much talent as the University of Alabama has, I said this to the homie Bama boy. I got Said G in the building. Thanks for the support, Said G. And DJ Knox, he back in the building. I didn't see your name said. I apologize for omitting you. Now, University of Alabama have too many 5-star players. I got my man Kirby Clemenza Alexander in Chicago. We call him Big Juice. He in the building. But like I was saying, I think the University of Alabama is going to go back to hard-nosed, bust-you-in-the-mouth football. That's the only way they're going to be able to beat Clemson. You can't out-athlete Clemson. Again, looking at their history at quarterback, they usually have a strong arm, athletic quarterback. Looking at all these receivers they consistently put in the NFL, they got big-time receivers with Kansas City, the Chargers, Kansas City Chargers, the Carolina Panthers, and a bunch of other teams. They got athletes all over the field. You cannot out-athlete Clemson.